So, yeah, welcome to the session today on 2023. And this is really to kickstart the year. And where the focus of this session came from was um, uh, in the work that I do, I'm constantly having conversations with people who are just reaching out, and I reach out to them and I have conversations. Madeline and I had one like a couple of weeks ago, for instance. And one of the things that was particularly coming up for people that I noticed was they were just asking, look, I do want to make a change next year because um, either I've been in my role for this kind of period of time and I'm getting a bit bored of it. I know that I need to do something else. I've hit a ceiling, or my work-life balance is disastrous and I've just got to make a change. Or the culture of the organization that I'm in is just getting more and more kind of toxic and I've got to get out. And so there was all these different reasons why people were kind of reaching out to kind of go, like, where do I start? Because I found myself, and I think like through COVID, for instance, what happened was that a lot of people just cruised a little bit because it was such an unsettling time to make any changes. And so now what we're seeing is a lot of accelerated change kind of happening. But because people have just been in a placeholder for like 3, 4 years, it's like, oh my God, where do I start? So I just wanted to just kind of address that and go, look, these are some of, and actually give you some free tools and tactics that I actually personally use all of these, and everything that I train, coaching and do, I've actually used myself. And I did these things. And there's another one in actual fact, and I might put it in the chat if you want to Google it. Just Google the Year Compass. It's a website, and it's a document, and it's not mine, it's free and you can download it, which is a document to review the year that you've just had and then review the year ahead that you kind of want to have. And it's awesome planning tool in addition. So highly recommend that. And if I get a chance, I'll put it in the chat for you. But the Year Compass, just Google it and you download it for free. They don't send you any emails as a consequence of it because they're just giving it away for free. And it's an editable PDF or Word document. And it's actually really, really good. I've done it with a lot of my clients have done it, and it's been really, really useful. And so first of all, just to introduce myself, you might have seen kind of the emails and anything else kind of from me. My name's Robin Miles. I train internationally for a US-based, a spin-off out of the Harvard Negotiation Project. So I train internationally, collaboration, negotiation, positive influence, train the international partners of like Deloitte Management Consultancy, Oracle, Intel, ExxonMobil, some of the big global organizations. And then secondly, what I do 70% of the time is work with people who are in some form of transition. So I bring that corporate execution skill set to individuals, coupled with working with people personally. I'm married, 2 kids, both my children had disabilities. The reason why we set up InspireMe to start with was I had to walk out of my executive career and go, right, that's not working for me. What do I need to do to kind of support my family as well? Small companies, anything bigger, well, I know. Yeah, I actually do. I mean, I love doing a whole range of things. That's why I love working with individuals, because that's where I see the real change. When you do a lot of the big corporate stuff, people are dialing into webinars across the whole of Asia. A lot of them aren't even on video camera. And I'm like, I wonder how much is going through. But when, at the end of the year compass, it actually says, who are the people who have really influenced you most? I think every single person that I've worked with has put me in their top 3 people, which is just humbling and nice. And they actually say it has genuinely changed my life. And I didn't think this was possible. And that's pretty awesome to have that impact. And that's why, I kind of do that work. Let's quickly scoot around each of you. You've introduced your name and where you're from, but if you just want to quickly say, yeah, I'm Chris from here, and this is where I'm at professionally or personally, just as a one-liner so that we can hear everyone's voice. I'd love to do that. And Madeline, because we've had a conversation, can I start with you and then I'll go with Theron, then Chris, then Carrie?
You'll pick on me. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm Madeline. I'm in Oregon, so I'm a little close to Portland, but just small town living. So don't think Portland like farm town outside of Portland. um, I'm an engineering manager, software engineering manager. I've been doing this now for almost 9 years. So, I mean, I'm still pretty young, but I started young. Um, I don't think I'm quite looking for a transition, but I do love what I do, but I want to find more meaning in the things that I do.
Mm.
Um, so that's kind of what I'm exploring.
Awesome. And there's a tool here that will absolutely nail that one for you, Madeline, which I used. Yeah. Theron?
Cool.
Hey everybody, I'm Taryn DePaulo, and I've been a long time member of the healthcare IT community in the Pacific Northwest in the U.S., reside just outside Spokane, Washington, and have kind of reached a point in my career in which I'm really looking to give back to others, and kind of just came to this inflection point. The industry's changing pretty rapidly, and I'm changing as well. And it'd be a good time to maybe look to pivot and fulfill some passions that I have, both for coaching and helping others, as well as just to see what my next adventure might be.
Awesome. And Chris?
Yes, I'm Chris Tenazal here out of Reno, Nevada. Been in the software tech industry for quite a while. A lot of it being customer facing, so sales essentially. It's been all right for me. Like I said, it just kind of starts to wear on you when you make so much cold outreach, and I start taking a bit personal here. But I also have a coaching business on my own, so trying to see how I can actually make that my full-time gig where I'm actually supporting my family and be able to do that, so I don't have to make so much cold outreach on my day-to-days.
Yeah. I remember when I first started my business that, like I walked out of my job and had to create InspireMe from get-go. And we were in survival mode. My wife couldn't get out of bed, seriously sick. My kids were in desperate need for support. And we'd already spent kind of all our money on medical bills for the children and everything else like that. So I had to get income. And I just remember that, like, I've just got to hound that cold calling. Like, I've got to get stuff to kind of work. And then, over time, it does pay off. We just got to make sure that you're doing it in the right direction. That's the thing. So yeah, cool. And Carrie, thank you very much. Hope your throat gets gets better. So Carrie, feel free to use the chat as much as you want, and I'll keep an eye on that. So I titled this "Live with Meaning, Joy, and Purpose: Tools to Make the Transition You Need," because it's particularly focused on the tool kind of aspect. So I wanted to give you a couple of insight and models just to consider. So this is the InspireMe model of how we actually change. And I think this is super useful because this is what a lot of people kind of struggle with. How do you actually change? And I'm stuck. How you actually change is that you change through getting new insights, which are aha moments. So you've kind of got to, Carrie said that she's, loves learning, which is great. So she's purposely exposing herself new insights from that learning. And that's where the insight is, we've got to do something different to get that insight first of all. That's what's kind of important. Then from that insight, we might go, oh, that's interesting. I don't understand it yet, but I want to understand it. So then there's more reading that kind of like to unpack it to really understand it. Now, this is the key point, which is acceptance. The rate of your ability to change is directly related to your ability to accept your current situation, where you want to be and what you need to do to kind of get there. And it's that acceptance piece. As soon as we accept, yeah, enough is enough, I do need to make this change. Acceptance of, yeah, I accept it's not all about work and it's actually about me and these things are in my control. As soon as you get to that real level of acceptance, that's when you really start to actually change, because you go from being in the learning understanding, because some people are very, very well read, but then do they actually apply anything? It's because they've not actually individually gone, yeah, that relates to me. That pain point is mine and I accept it and it's not good enough for me and I want to do something about it. Because from that point, then you can go into strategy and action. But when you go into strategy and action, you're only halfway around, because a lot of people feel like I've got to get exactly the right action first time. And that's just not the case, because strategy and action is only halfway around, because you take one action, which is a step in the right direction, to then go in observation, reflection, draw new inspiration, because you're gaining new insights from those new experiences. And if, let's just say that you want to transition job, going and catching up with a friend that you used to work for, that you really respect, who works for another company, and having a coffee with him and just saying, yeah, I am actually now looking for something different, is an action. Because they might go, oh, well, did you know this? And then you go, no, I didn't know that. Cool. You've now found your next action, and it's called concentric rings. You're sending out this kind of ripple effect. And so I want you to kind of be thinking about this model as we go through, like, what's an insight, what's an understanding, what's an acceptance that you can kind of take away, and what's an action from today that you can take away. If you take one action from today, which might be, yeah, I'm going to download that worksheet, Robin, and I'm going to apply it, like, that's awesome, because that will actually affect a change in your life. Does that make sense? Don't take an action, you stay the same. Yeah, Madeline?
I think that, that makes sense. Sorry, I want to add to that because I did read the book, and I like Executive Edge. And I know we have some IT folks here, so I think this might resonate with them. Like, one thing that you mentioned is thinking of yourself as a project.
Yeah.
And what this reminds me of, it's not exactly one-to-one, but I think the way, because I guess some of my background is before I met Robin. I've been doing this kind of thing by myself for a while, and it's not been too fun. But one mindset I've kind of taken, not even taken, but like a similarity I found, is it's amazing how much you can adopt the principles you learn in your career to your personal growth. So I do a lot of discoveries at work. I work for a digital agency. So it's like, hey, we want to take on this new client. What are, like, even today, like, what are their systems problems? What's their spaghetti code look like? What's the root cause analysis? What's the path forward? All of these things. It sucks, but you kind of have to do that for yourself and think of it like, and don't get hurt or whatever with yourself, but just think of it just like how would you tackle a project at work, and then just apply that methodology to yourself.
100%. And that's where I take that corporate execution into personal development, because, and also, some of the other things I've done aid work in Africa, I've trained in the military, and everything is saying the same thing. And I don't think I wrote it in the book. I can't quite remember this example, where I was working with a guy. He was the executive director of project management services, right? Really senior guy, project manager, absolutely stuck in his career, desperately unhappy. And I gave him all the tools, and he said, Robin, I just want to let you know it's absolutely changed my life, but I'm never going to tell anyone what you did with me. And I laughed, and I said, why is that?
Because he was embarrassed.
Because it's embarrassingly simple, and it's what I do for everyone. So I'm just sorry, but it'd be career limiting to say that I just did a program of activities for myself to solve this problem. And coming on to this model, and it's exactly right. It is about, because what happens is, and that's why I work with this kind of age demographic, because we're giving out. But you can listen to Jesus when he said you've got to fill your own oil lamp to burn brightly. Buddha said something similar. Or if you're not religious and you're really against, then listen to the air crew, who say you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first, because then you can actually help other people. As leaders, as professionals, we're giving out. And if we've got families and other commitments, we're giving out, and we actually need to give back to ourselves before we give out. That's what's really important. And this is the InspireMe model of how I work with people. It's not a linear program. It just gives a framework. But we always start with that inner leader phase. And we start with inner leader phase because bringing that methodology is, there's only one common factor to every problem in each of your lives. There's only one common factor to everything. And that's that you were there, and there's only one common factor in every success that you've ever achieved, in every resolution, you were there. So if it was a business problem, you're like, man, this thing always turns up when there's a problem, and this thing always turns up when there's a solution. I reckon we should start there. That's why I start there within a leader. And when we're working with people, and this is something you can do, there's free diagnostic tools that you can do online. You know, I do my ones and debrief, but you can do those things to give you that insight about your personality preferences, to then look at, right, what are some of the hidden obstacles holding me back, to then help me go into the strategic planning that I need. And they're like things that I work with people on, and tools and frameworks. Some of them I'm going to give you today. So I'm going to give you a remove hidden obstacles tool. I'm going to give you a strategic planning tool, and I'm actually going to give you kind of an optimized, it's kind of like another remove hidden one, to really help kind of get kick-started that beginning phase. And then a lot of people don't achieve what they want because they're lacking the influence or the impact or the cut through that they need. So yeah, this is kind of like the framework that I use. The other thing I just wanted to share with you is that, you know, whenever you're investing in new insights and learning, if you're just reading something, you're only 10% likely to take it on. And you can see there on the screen the increasing percentages. So we're obviously doing audio visual today. We're going to have a bit of a discussion. Madeline's comment there just stimulates that. Others, feel free just to come off mute and ask questions or give examples. But if you actually do something, and that's why I said, if you just take one action away, it's going to be worthwhile, because you're 75% likely to affect a change in your life. Now, also, if you take one of these templates and actually share it with a loved one, a colleague, or whatever, even if you haven't done it yourself, you know, my clients say, oh, that was brilliant training, Robin. I told everyone else about it at work and they've grabbed it. And I said, yeah, but did you do it? No, I haven't done it yet, honestly. But they will, because they're 90% likely now that they've actually, you know, shared it with others. So make sure that you're doing, you know, taking action and sharing stuff with others. That's what's super important, because it's about elevating everyone. Now I'm going to get on straight away with some of the tools and the tactics and everything else like that. One of my personal struggles was actually really nailing what my purpose actually was. Like, what is my purpose? I'm a very purpose-driven person. I went and, you know, when I was 17 years old, I went to Africa to do aid work, for instance. I was very purpose-driven. But then for some reason, actually nailing what my purpose was a bit kind of elusive, until I kind of developed these, or came across one of the tools and then developed the other one myself, type of thing, to really kind of nail it. Because ultimately we all do have a purpose in work. It's just, are we actually connected with it? And when we actually think about it, sometimes we realize that our work actually isn't aligned with our purpose. We do need to make a change. Now, I'll give this example that I went into civil engineering, and I went into civil engineering to help humanity. And when I looked at the, after I did aid work, I realized that that's what I wanted to do. Now, the 1840s definition of civil engineering is harnessing the forces of nature for the benefit of mankind. I love that. You know, engineers go, oh, I'm just an engineer. Like, I'm like, that is inspirational kind of stuff. The problem is the modern day definition of civil engineering is civil engineers will be environmentally responsible. They will have due diligence with design standards and codes of practice. The definition now is boring as batshit. You know, we've lost the essence of why are we actually doing, what actually is my drive? Because I could be doing anything right now. What's actually, and I don't think it's about creating your purpose. It's about reconnecting with your purpose. Now, what I've got here, I'm going to put a template in the chat for you to kind of take away, and we'll send you the slides for today as well, so that you've got them. But basically what it is, it's a matter of just asking yourself these key questions to help yourself. So the first question is, like, what is it that you actually care about? Now, journal this. Don't think, right, what's the end answer that I'm getting to? Just generally write down the things that you care about. Now, if you're someone who, like, for instance, if you come to our house and there's a fly in the house, we won't kill the fly. We're like, wait a minute, let's get the fly and let's take the fly outside. You know, because I generally care about animals and the planet and stuff like that. Does that make sense? So I'm actually going to put that down, because it is who I am. It's kind of the values that I have. It's the things that I kind of actually hold most dear to me. And so for you, write those things down. Now, don't write things down that you feel that you should care about. Or I care about the poor starving people around the world, and I really care about the homeless people. And if that's not true, if that's true for you, then don't feel, oh, it's really cliche to do it, but it is what I really think, but I won't put it down. Can you see all that judgment coming out? Just be truthful with yourself. You've only got one job on this planet, and that is to run your own race, to be yourself. You'll be more powerful, more influential, and happier, and inspire more people if you're more yourself than what you were ever before. So I think I'll give you an example here. So my one, what I actually care about was, and this is one of the sentences from my own one to give you an example. I actually wrote, I actually care about helping the world be a better place and have a positive impact on it. That was the summary for me. Like, I went through all the bullet points and then I kind of summarized it. I'd recommend just do all the bullet points. It took me a long time to write that because it was so cliche. But then when I thought about it, I was like, well, I set up my first charity when I was like 14 years old. I went and did aid work in Africa, and I've done this and I've done this, like I genuinely, I'm not kidding myself. I actually, that's what I'm about. That's why it's called InspireMe, to help as many people as we possibly can, But you don't have to come up with a pearl of a sentence. Just brainstorm, yeah? And then we get to the next question, which is, what change do you passionately feel needs to occur on the planet? What's the change? What's the effect? Because you are here as a human being, and your actions, it's a little bit, I do a lot of nature connection stuff as well. And I think about a spider's web, like an amazing spider's web. And each of us, even on this call, is a little strand on that spider's web. Now, if one of you wasn't here, one of those links of that web wouldn't exist. And so the spider's web would be different. Does that make sense? It's a little bit, if you like zoom into a snowflake and you know that there's no two snowflakes that are the same, apparently. If you took one little icicle bit off, it would be a different snowflake. And so you're here, you're making a change whether or not you know it or not. Do you know what I mean? And unfortunately, most people find out the change that they have made on the planet at their own funeral when they're not here anymore. Does that make sense? So what is the change that you want to kind of see? And again, there might be multiple things. They might be related to your career. They might not. Don't worry about it. Put it together. And I'll give you an example of this. I had an engineer who did this, and he did it all, and he gave it to me. He said, look, Robin, I'm none the clearer about what I need to do. I've brainstormed everything. And I'm like, it's obviously clear to me. And he's like, what? Basically what he put is he put a lot of engineering-y stuff down, but he also put a lot of environmental stuff down that he was passionate about. And I said, seems like engineering actually is your passion. It's just that you're doing boring as batshit engineering where you're in an office, not seeing the impact that you're having. And what you would love to do is actually work on renewable energy and new technology kind of projects. He went, yes. And I was like, well, do that then, and it was really funny that it was right in front of him that he could actually, combine these two parts of his world. So mine is about conscious and collaborative decision-making, because I just believe that if people made better, if everyone stopped and actually thought about the action that they were about to take next, that the world would be a better place if they just did that. So if I can affect people to stop and actually be better versions of themselves, it kind of is a ripple effect going out. And so that's what I truly believe in. So again, just brainstorm different things. The next question is then, okay, well, what could you do about it? For me, I can teach, train, coach, facilitate, donate, volunteer, speak, influence, book, social media, etc. That's why I wrote a book. And it took me a long time to do it. And I do donate to all the causes that I feel are really kind of important. I do volunteer a lot of my time for others and stuff as well. I do free sessions for people and everything, because I just want that to kind of come out. And when you're, and so really think about it, because some people, for instance, feel that they have to change their whole career for doing the thing that's actually important to them, but you don't necessarily have to. Because it can be, well, wait a minute, I can do that for work And there's nothing stopping me donating to some money to really purposeful organizations that I'm connected with and volunteering for them at the same time. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But you can change it, you can integrate it as well. But there's, you know, like everything's basically an option. So just like, what could you do about it? Not what will you do about it? What could you do about it theoretically? To then kind of come back and look at that as a list. So what I do now is, instead of kind of bringing it to a summary, I look at another model, and there's the Ikigai model. And just give us a thumbs up if you've seen this before. Yeah, Taron has. Yeah. So this is a Japanese model. It's a Japanese term that they use where, you know, it's a common term around everyone finding their Ikigai, which is like their reason for being, which is their purpose. So children growing up, this is how they parent. It's just like, okay, they're looking at their children to go, well, what does that child love doing? But also, what are they good at? And then what does the world actually need? Could they be paid for it? Then that's probably going to be their professional reason for being, which is smack bang in the middle. Does that make sense? Now, what I also love about this is that you might go, oh, yeah, I you know, maybe you've fallen out of love with your profession, but you're good at it, the world needs it, and you can be paid for it, you know? So there's the love aspect kind of missing. But what you can do, like my best friend in the UK, he loves sailing. Now, I said to him, why don't you set up a sailing business and you can sail every day? And he said, no, I love sailing too much because I want to enjoy sailing. And he said, I'm very happy that the stuff that he's an engineer as well, he's an electronic engineer. He does some of the secret-y kind of stuff with the government. You know, it's quite interesting. Anyway, can't say about that. But he's good at stuff. The world needs it and he can be paid for it. And he's really happy down that space. But that other part of the balance for him is he's got that passion, which is he's sailing. So you don't have to have a job that fits all of these things smack bang in the middle. I'm really super fortunate that, you know, I kind of actively created that, because I'm like, if I'm going to have an hour away from my family and my kids who desperately need me, I need it to be stuff that that is absolutely critical to me, that's right in my wheelhouse, that's right in the middle there. But you can absolutely, you know, just go, look, even to the degree, look, you know, the world needs it, I'm good at it, and I can be paid for it, but what do I love doing? And you can do different kind of combinations of that as well, you know. When people are setting up businesses, often it's something that they love doing. It's often something that they're good at. It's often something that the world needs, but the world isn't paying for it, which means that they're basically setting up a charity. You know, the number of people who've set up their own business, and I've said, right, great, you've been in there, you've got like massive on social media and websites. Like, what's your revenue? Oh, well, I haven't really. I'm like, what the hell? Like, we need to actually have an offer that people kind of, I haven't got my wallet here, but go, yes, I want that. Do you know what I mean? And it's absolutely okay. And there's people who I have worked with to give them the clarity that they've actually got an online presence, and they've actually removed the expectation of earning money from it, to actually go, look, if you want to donate to what I do, because I just love it and I reckon the world needs it and I'm actually good at it, and I'm going to have an online presence and I'm going to do blogs and I'm going to do these things on my terms, because that's what I'm just about. And if you want to donate to me, just donate to me. But they actually do another job to actually earn their income. Does that make sense? Because having the pressure to earn the money from it was too great. So this is where you can slice and dice it. Yeah.
Yeah, Robin, if you don't mind, can I share like that, how that resonates with me? Like,
yeah, go for it.
How I came into technology and software engineering.
Yeah.
Because I'm like all about this. I have always been, like, from a very, very, very small age, like a creative person, painting, drawing, always. But obviously it's terrifying to go out into the world and be like a professional artist. So as I was, you know, becoming of an age to look at colleges and what my career should look like, that didn't really feel like an option. I had a really good epiphany. It wasn't an epiphany, it was somebody slapping me in the face, not really, but saying, exactly what you said, but summarized as, well, you can, love 18th century poetry, but you don't have to go be an 18th century poet. Um, so that was like, oh wow, okay. So find something. So what I liked about software engineering was that it allowed me to be somewhat creative in a way. So it's like adjacent. But I was even thinking about this yesterday. My like creative area, like my painting, my drawing, my sketches, all of that is so intimate to me, like and personal. I seriously don't know if I could do a career based on it. So sometimes, but I just think it's important to reflect on, is that a situation for you? And then not be defeated by that. Like, I think some people sit there and think like, oh, I can't do the thing I love in my job, so I just can't do the thing I love at all.
Yeah.
I think it's like, so they do nothing.
Correct. And they also see that the people are going, hey, you need to set up your side hustle and you can earn $1 million from this in 12 months. And it's like, I should be doing that. Whereas like what I rekindle people, like there's only one key performance indicator. And this is, I always get tingles on my legs when I'm saying something that I truly in alignment believe in. Like when I'm coaching and working with people, I'm not coaching with you right now. I'm actually coaching you. It sounds a bit morbid, but I'm actually coaching a vision that I have of you on your deathbed with the biggest smile on your face. That's what I'm coaching. Does that make sense? So that you actually kind of look back and, I say it in my book when I was with my dad on his deathbed. And I said, how's life been? And, this is what, this is the opportunity of sharing anything with me over your life. And he said, you would think I'd have something more profound to say, but life's been good. And I went, Dad, I think that is profound. And this is a guy who was taken away from his family, evacuated during the war, non-educated, had to join the army, married my mum because my mum was married to his best friend, and he vowed to support her and get married, and then slogged his heart out in the building industry with asbestosis on his lungs and bent over. His body was kind of knackered. But then he's going, life's been really good, with a big smile. And then you got people like, was it Steve Jobs writing his memoirs on his deathbed going, I missed the point of life, and I'm like, what is success really? It's actually running your own race, Yeah, absolutely agree, Madeline. Yeah. And it all comes down to your own individual. So what I've done is I've actually put in the chat, if you want to download the Know Your Purpose kind of worksheet. So it asks you those questions. It introduces this model that I've put here. And, you just brainstorm. What is it that you love doing? What are you good at? What can you be paid for? What does the world need? Yeah. And you brainstorm it all. Then the final question on the template is now to sit back, because what we want to do is declare ourselves a project. We do that by getting out of our head and onto paper. Then we sit back and we look at it and go, right now, review it independently. I would actually come back to it another time and pick it up and read it, and then look at the key things, and then ask yourself that question. Now, what does that tell you about your purpose? Because you've looked at your purpose from two different angles to then come back and go, like, make those decisions. Yeah, I do love kind of art, but I need to earn money, and I do actually quite enjoy it. And doing this actually enables me to do my art. I am on the right trajectory, and there is a problem. I just need to change jobs or get an elevated or address my work-life balance or whatever. It can actually be really powerful to tell you, right, what should be your focus, for this year. So highly recommended to, do that exercise. I've got two other tools that I quickly want to go through and give you, but any questions on that one to start with? Cool. So the next one is the Executive Life Prioritiser, and this is a process that I've been doing and developed. It's not rocket science. It's the, you would have seen this, the wheel of life and all this kind of stuff. And I've got a template for it, but I never had a template for it because I just wanted to give people the methodology and for them to do it in the way they want. So the templates are only as helpful as they're helpful. I've got a client who actually did a massive, very artistic, had a white wall in the house and got paint and painted her Executive Life Prioritiser. And I'm like, cool, that works for you. Do you know what I mean? So you can be as creative as you kind of want with it. But there's fundamentally just a few questions to really get to the point around it, because the first question is this. Like, yes, there's the wheel of life and there's all these, like, I mean, we just took that off of the internet. You know, they were like, oh, look, there's these different areas of life. What I say is that you need to choose the areas of life that are actually important to you. I mean, you can Google it to get some ideas, and on the template, I've given you some ideas, but you select the areas of life that are important. So health, fitness, self, family, home, relationships, work, career, adventure, spirituality, art, sports, etc. The big one that I find, the biggest error that people make here is that they just bundle it up too much. So they have family, work, health and fitness. And I'm like, but what about you as a person? And sorry, the sun's coming up now here. Look, you can see that. What about you as a person? And you've bundled up family. Does that include your wife or your husband? Oh, yeah. Does it include your kids? Yeah. Well, wait a minute. There's a totally different dimension of a relationship between you and your partner as there is to you and your kids. Do you know what I mean? You're a parent there and you're a loving romantic relationship there that has intimacy. Do you know what I mean? So we need to strip that out. So then we can kind of laser like, and this is about being really truthful with ourselves. And I've got other videos on purposeful parenting and on personal relationships. And when I've reviewed, for instance, my personal relationship or how I parent, I've actually gone, you know what? I'm not actually being the husband that I want to be that's aligned with my values. I'm not actually being the parent, and I'm actually pretty disgraced around some of my behaviors that I now need to change, because it's a little bit like getting a spotlight and actually shining the spotlight on that area of your life and going, yeah, I do need to do something about it. And too often we're just kind of blindly kind of going forwards and not realizing how we're doing. So this is really being conscious of really stripping it out. And so if you have more areas of your life, like up to like 14, I would say that it should be around about 10, at least, areas of your life that's kind of important. For instance, I had my work, but then I had my career as a separate one, because my work was how happy am I in my current job and work and doing. But my career was like, what am I doing with regards to my next steps? What learning and development was I doing, and that type of stuff, you know? So just think about all the different areas of your life and brainstorm them out. The next activity then is to go, well, let's be really truthful. What's your current status? So you might have, my home is important, right? I live in a 4-bedroom detached house, you know, and the bank owns 90% of it, you know, or whatever it is, you know, and just write it down. Health and fitness. You got to be brutal with the facts. Health and fitness. My current status, I'm 10 kilos overweight. I'm not running. I'm, you know, drinking a bottle of wine a night, or whatever it is. Just, it's the current status. Too many people jump into, oh, well, I need to do X, Y, and Z. Don't jump into strategy yet. Just write down your current status with it. Yeah. And it's just factual bullet points. Yeah. Then the next phase is simply this. This is kind of like an extra kind of sweet kind of bit, which is just rate your performance. So, for instance, are you absolutely nailing your health and fitness? That your desired is your current, and you are, I'm 10 out of 10. I'm not an elite sports athlete, but I am where I need to be for me. So don't put a measure of your performance based on, like if Madeline, like for your art, you're not kind of going, well, am I an international artist? But am I the level of artistry that I'm satisfied with? Do you know what I mean? And it's your own personal, and I call them your own personal indicators, KPIs.
I can give an example of that. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but like I said, I've been through this whole thing for the last few months. I've just like, I've had like a huge paradigm shift in me as a person. So I'm just like excited to talk. But yeah, so somebody asked me that recently about how like I said I wanted to be where I wanted to be as an artist. They're like, oh, well, what do you mean? Are you feeling like you're doing really good stuff? And I'm not especially feeling that way. But I expressed that, like, I feel like I'm getting to a point where I can sit down and I can use it to unwind and relax. And before it was something stressful that I feel like I had to make something presentable, something impressive, something whatever. So like I have successfully shifted my mindset to like, no, this is something I enjoy doing, to like something this is like I have to impress the world with. And that like having that is where I want to be. Like I've set that criteria for myself. So that is like spot on.
Yeah. And it's just like, if you're happy doing it and everything else like that, and that's where people actually do hobbies and they're getting really frustrated with it. And I'm like, you're doing this for fun. Like I play soccer. And, you know, sometimes you get like, and I'm an old man playing soccer, right? So there's other old men playing soccer. And you get some guys playing soccer and they're like swearing. They're like, oh, I can't even believe this. And I'm like, hey, mate, like we're here just to have fun. I just like want to clarify that this does not seem to be fun for you. Like either take a chill pill or like go and do something else with your life. Like don't come here and ruin it for everyone else, you know? And so it is just a matter of where am I at on that, you know, my level of satisfaction. Yeah. Because then the next thing then simply goes to, well, what do I want this area of my life to look like? Because what we're looking at is there's only oh, look at that. Former goalkeeper. Good stuff, Carrie. Hopefully you wasn't one. Our goalkeeper was one of those guys. So hopefully that wasn't you. There's only like strategy. It's overcomplicated. Strategy is 3 steps. Where am I at? Where do I want to be? What do I need to do to get there? That's it. You know, business strategy, same thing. Where are we organizationally? You know, I did a pre-strategy for BHP's global supply chain. They're like the world's biggest mining company, for instance, right? And inherently, it was just that. But we spent like 6 months on where is the organization at, doing all the analysis and the data and all that kind of stuff. Where does what's all the hypotheses about where the world's going to be and where BHP want to be and everything else like that? Cool. Let's spend 6 months on working kind of like what are some of the ideas of the strategies that they therefore need to implement. That was an input into, right, then do a final process after that. Does that make sense? So it's the same structure and we overcomplicate it. So it's just a matter of this is where I'm at. This is my level of performance. That's where I actually want to be. And in what time frame do I want that to be in? Just brainstorm that out for each area of your life. And then it becomes logical then. Oh, there is a balance and a priority. It says 2020, which is an old typo. That for me isn't that important. It's, you know, other people were kind of wanting to put that in like, oh, I've got 14 areas in my life, you know, like how much time should I be spending on each? And I'm like, you pick how much time you want on each, because that's your lifestyle, you know. But inherently the three areas are, what's the area of my life? Where am I at? Where do I want to be? What do I need to do to get there? So just logically, what are the actions there for you that you need to take? This will drive you into action. It will be the thing that makes you go, yeah, I do need to book that doctor's appointment to have a look at my knee that's niggling and stopping me playing in goals. Do you know what I mean? The action I do need to take is actually have a chat with my financial planner around my retirement kind of fund and what's that looking like, and get some projections to understand, okay, you know, do I need to be putting more or less, or, you know, having a chat with the bank manager about the mortgage, for instance, or having a chat with the boss around kind of where are future career opportunities, or looking at, yeah, I do want to do some learning and development in this space, and I'm just going to Google what courses I can actually, and what's the options for me. It just spurts you into action, and you just walk away with your action plan. It's on one page. It's super easy to do. The templates in there, and yeah, it just helps you kind of rebalance the whole of your life. And it's almost like, I call it the Executive Life Prioritiser, because it's like a project management approach to life. It's just simple. It's just like bang, bang, bang. Oh, and then you sit back and go, cool, this is some shit I can just get on with and do. And as soon as you've got an emotional guidance system, which is whenever you take an action and it feels good, that's your guidance system saying, yeah. So when you do that and you take one action, like whatever it is, like the actions I've given you, you will feel good as a consequence. That gives you energy for then putting in other things. And not only are you taking steps in the right direction, you're going faster because you're energized behind it. Yeah. So that's the other tool. Any questions on that one? And then there's one final one. This is the Executive Evaluator. I love this. This is really simple. It's simply this, that what I did is I journal this, and I have like a, I did this to move out of a career that I just get a blank piece of paper. I haven't got a blank piece of paper. I just draw a cross on it, but I've done a template for people, but just do a cross like that. And actually I have it beside my desk all day. And I'm like, right, what today energized me and moved me forward? What today energized me but held me back? E.g., doing the webinar with you guys energized me and moved me forward, but then I got off and then I went and had something really unhealthy for breakfast. It energized me because I love eating cream cakes for breakfast, but it's actually holding me back because it's holding my health goals back. Does that make sense? So there are things that energize you that hold you back, you know. Then what was draining you but moving me forward? Okay, later on, I've got to talk to my accountant. Oh, geez, I hate those guys, you know, but it is actually moving forward and it's draining me. What's holding me back and draining me? And you just journal it out, you know, and you just kind of put things. I would do it, and then it's like a time in motion study for a day. I've never had to do this for longer than 3 days to identify what the key themes are, you know, because the key themes have been evident. But you can do it just for life in general. You know, what are things in life that sit in those different categories? You can do it in any way, shape, or form. But what it really gives you then is this key thing that it just gives you insights, you know, and then you can identify what actions do you need to take and what you need. So, for instance, if things are moving you forwards but draining you, it's like, can I outsource them? You know, can I get someone else to kind of do that because it's needed, but I just don't like doing it? You know, if things are holding me back and draining me, how can I drop them? You know, and what do I, you know, and what bad habits have I got into that energize me but actually do hold me back, that I need to have a serious kind of conversation with myself and either do it or stop and set kind of boundaries. And this is a really helpful thing to kind of identify, yeah, that's where I need to be putting more of my energy. Yeah. So let's go around the room. What's your key insight from today? What's 2 or 3 goals that you want to focus on? What's your plan? Lots of questions here that I want you to ask yourselves. But out of it, I'd just love to know, like, what was your key insight and what's an action as of today that it's giving you that, yeah, I'm going to do that. And it could just be, yeah, book that doctor's appointment because it's triggered a thought for you. It could be absolutely anything. There's no judgment here. So again, I'm going to pick on you, Madeline. And then we'll go to Ron and then Chris and then Carrie. You can put it in the chat as you feel. So Madeline.
Yeah. So first thing, action is, I'm going to go through some of those templates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do the activities specifically. Sorry, I'm pulling it up. I think I can't remember. There are a few activities, but one where, you know, what's my current status? Just kind of get an idea of like, or, you know, finding out. Actually, you know what? Just like really answering some of those questions where I'm just being honest with myself about what I care about.
Mm.
I think really writing that down, because there's a lot of, you know, as a human, there's a lot of things I care about, but narrowing that down and then trying to, like, I don't know, derive some actions out of that.
Cool. That's the first step. Is like, because you feel like, oh, but it's such a long list, but it is actually a defined list and you will run out and then kind of go, right, cool. What do I want to do about that? It's nice.
Yeah. Since it's funny, since I read your book or saw something, like, you asked the question, what do you really care about? Like you
Yeah,
had that
correct.
really
Just put the word
in there.
really in there. Yeah.
Seriously, like, so I started thinking, and then like I have one page left blank in my notebook for work.
Mm.
What do you really care about? And it's
Mm.
something that I go back to just to like drop things in as like I have insight. So it's not something that I sit there and I'm like, what are the 10 things? It's just like as they really come to me and I feel passionately, I go back. I've only added one thing so
Yeah,
far. I mean, I
cool.
do care a lot of things, but like, what do I really, really care
Really
about?
care.
That one,
Yeah. And the other
yeah,
question, and there's a concept of the quality of your life is directly related to the quality of the questions that you ask in life. And a really great question is like, what do you desire? Because that's like, yes, this is maybe what you want, but what is it that you desire, above everything else? So yeah, perfect.
yeah.
Thank
I don't
you.
have really quick for fun. I don't know if you want to see it.
No, that's all right. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah. That's all you need to do. Just emphasis on the words. Yeah.
I just have the one thing, which is that I am someone that recognizes others for their efforts.
Nice.
That's it so far.
Nice. Keep it
That's all I've
simple.
come up with over the last 2 weeks.
Carrie's put the action for me: finish reading, transforming the inner man, then apply learning from what your tools. Perfect. Thanks, Carrie. Teron?
Yeah, I think corollary to what has been said before, really just tearing into it and articulating it in a structured way.
Yep.
I've recently started journaling just to get thoughts down on paper so that you're not subject to the moment and don't blow with the winds that come on a daily basis. And this also lends a framework to solidify those, and then to be able to go back and look at those artifacts and say, yep, that's still important.
Yeah.
At this milestone along the way, we're still on pace or we're off pace or those kinds of things. So I think tearing into it and starting to line out different elements of not only the strategy, but then also, okay, how do I uproot myself enough to do something about it? I think of that old story, two frogs are sitting on a lily pad and one of them thinks about hopping off. How many frogs are on the lily pad? Still two. And sometimes we find ourselves there. So hopefully it'll spur some action too.
Thanks a lot, Teron.
Enjoy.
All right, guys, you take care and let me know how you go. Bye now.
If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Feel free to share with friends and check out what's up next for more videos from my channel.